Good morning and welcome to the Morning Scoop for Monday, March 29th. This is your daily Buckeye fix. I'm Tom Orr. The Minnesota game is in 167 days. The game against Michigan in 243 days. The Ohio State football team will be back to work today for practice number 5 of the spring season. We will also get an opportunity to check in with Ryan Day on how things are going a third of the way through spring ball. We'll have updates on that a little later on today at buckeyescoop.com. Tony Gerdeman had some interesting reporting this week on just some interesting storylines to follow. You can find that all. That's a free content at buckeyescoop.com. So you might want to check that out this morning. But this morning, we're going to be talking about recruiting and specifically some big and I'm just going to say it, long overdue changes that could be coming very soon. My guest is Buckeye Scoop recruiting analyst Alex Gleitman. And Alex, it sounds like an NCAA-mandated dead period could finally be coming to an end pretty soon.
Yeah, I think from everything I'm hearing, talking to multiple staffs across the country, not just Ohio State sources, the expectation is that the dead period, which is currently has been ongoing for over a year now and is scheduled to at least go through May 31st, will end on May 31st. And starting June 1st, college coaches will be allowed to, the details are still not out there. I don't think anyone knows for sure, but I think what college coaches are under the assumption of is that students will at least be able to go to college campuses for visits. It's unknown, is there restrictions? How many kids are allowed in one single weekend? Is there camps? Are college coaches allowed off campus to evaluate? There's still a lot of answers to be figured out, but I think the one thing that everyone I've spoken to, other than one school, I spoke to probably different people at about 10 different schools, and 9 of them at least feel pretty good about June 1st, things opening up. And so I think you're starting to see a lot of recruits put out materials that they're taking official visits, all the cool graphics and things like that they get these days, official visits throughout June. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that falls very much in line with the information that I've been hearing and talking to some of the players, especially in Ohio State's class. They're being told that that is the expectation as well. And so I think you're going to start to see June be filled with recruiting visits. I know Ohio State themselves is they have at least 3 weekends in June that are going to be pretty busy, and one that's going to be kind of that primary big recruiting weekend, I guess, to open things up in the dead period.
Well, you mentioned the official visits. That's obviously kind of like the headline. Like, you can't take official visits. You can't take unofficial visits during a dead period. As you mentioned, it's been going on since last March. We're now over a year in this dead period in recruiting. And, yes, it's visits. There's actually a lot of other stuff that's restricted right now. And I feel like every time we talk about the dead period, we need to kind of spell that out for people so they sort of understand like what we're talking about here. So it's not just the official visits and the unofficial visits. It's some of the stuff you mentioned, the camps, the evaluation periods. So, this is something that is a big hindrance, not just for the players who can't take the visits and can't meet these people and the coaches and see the campuses in person. It's also a big deal for the coaches who can't evaluate the players. So can you just sort of run through like some of the stuff that has not happened for literally a year that could be opening up again, potentially? As you said, it's still, some of the details are up in the air, but some of the stuff that could potentially be opening up again on June 1st.
Yeah, very simply right now, it's simply no contact, in-person contact between coaches and player. So that means players cannot take official visits, which are paid for by the school, unofficial visits on their own dime. But when they do that, normally they'd be able to go see the facilities, see the stadium, see the dorm, meet with academic people, et cetera, et cetera. And those are things that they can't be doing right now. They can't meet with the coaches in person. So that's where you saw all the virtual visits come into play last year. People Zoom or WebEx or whatever it may be. Those basically meetings between parents, coaches, advisors, whoever, and kids as well as coaches all happen virtually. And any kid who wanted to visit a school had to do it on their own dime. They had to drive around, basically what they're calling self-guided tours. And they were allowed to call the coaches, FaceTime them while they were on campus, but they weren't able to experience a visit, unofficial or official, the same way they would have if things were open. Now, on the other side of it, from an evaluation standpoint, coaches are not, they were normally able to hit the road, go visit high school coaches in their school. They weren't allowed to talk to prospects necessarily unless they were, after September 1st of their senior year, but they would, be able to a bump in the hallway and say hello type of thing. They would be able to go see them work out and different things along that line, run track, play baseball, play basketball, whatever it may be. That wasn't allowed. Neither was on campus camps or off campus camps. So coaches basically who relied very much on seeing kids in person, whether it's playing another sport, whether it's doing workouts with their team at their school, or whether it's having them on campus, to work out with the coaches, guys like Darren Lee, Terry McLaurin, many others have earned offers from coming to Ohio State's camp and performing well in front of the coaching staff when maybe they wouldn't have been a take otherwise. So a lot of those opportunities were taken away from the kids, but they were also taken away from the coaches and being able to do the most robust evaluations on all the possible kids out there. So I think there was a lot of lost opportunities on both sides. And again, we don't know what things potentially being back open starting June 1st means, but hopefully it does mean that colleges will be able to have camps once again. So that would be really big.
And you mentioned that Ohio State is looking at potentially having maybe multiple big recruiting weekends relatively early in June, get these kids on campus as quickly as they can once it opens back up. But as you said, there could be one that's a little, maybe a little bigger than the others. They had Buckeye Bash 1.0 last fall when it was a player organized. The school couldn't have anything to do with it. So the players in the class just kind of got something together and they all got together off campus and had kind of a bonding weekend together. Now you could have Buckeye Bash 2.0 this summer, but this could involve the school actually running it and having it turning into like a huge summer recruiting weekend. Can you give people an idea like what kind of things typically happen on big recruiting weekends? And, why is it a good idea to get everyone on campus together at the same time, as opposed to maybe having like, hey, just one or two guys on campus and really giving them more like, more focus time and all that with the staff?
Yeah, well, I think, June 4th through 6th is the target date right now for Buckeye Bash 2.0. And all of the current commits, I think there's 11 of them, if my memory is serving correctly right now, in the 2022 class are scheduled to be there. And that's big. It's going to be the first time those guys are on campus together. And they're going to be hanging out for the first time. They've already been bonding on, social media and their text message group chat and FaceTime and things of that nature. But getting all those guys together with the staff, I think it's only going to further their feeling and their relationship strength with Ohio State and firm them up. There's some guys, I don't think Ohio State's worried about anyone, but Quinn Ewers and guys like that people are still going after and are concerned about. I think it's only going to help. But on top of that, you're going to have a number, at least a handful of uncommitted prospects in the 2022 class that are going to be taking either unofficial or official visits. Guys like Dominic James and Xavier Nwankpa and Amaria Bohr, Caden Curry, I know is talking about that weekend. So some really big name guys, top of the board type targets that are going to be able to come on campus and not only spend time with the coaches, but spend time with the other commits in that class and feeling connected to those guys and just getting that feeling that like I can see myself like being roommates with this guy, being best friends, not just for 4 years, but for the next 40 years with this guy, and just feeling more comfortable about the school. The parents hang out together. I mean, if they're coming on the visits, it just helps it make it feel like a more family feel in that aspect. And then, I think some of the things that they're going to be doing, I mean, look, they're going to spend a lot of time with the coaches as a group. They're going to set up into like, the two tight ends, Benji Gosnell, Bennett Christian. They're going to spend a lot of time with Kevin Wilson, right? The offensive lineman going to spend a lot of time with Greg Stajora and so on with all the different position groups. And they're going to, spend time breaking down their position, and what they do on a daily basis. They're going to spend time with the guys currently in that room to, just feel that better connection with the guys they're going to be teammates with and not only competing against, but really that they're going to learn the ropes from over the next few years. And then they're also going to spend individual one-on-one time with the coaches. They're also going to get to spend time on the academic side. I mean, they're going to bring in different people for different majors to talk to people, give them tours of the dorms, tours of the academic facilities. They're going to get to go inside the Horseshoe, go inside the Woody Hayes Athletic Center, spend time with Mickey Marotti and his staff, and, understand from a nutrition standpoint, from a strength and conditioning standpoint, what they're going to be doing. And I think everyone's going to have a really good understanding of what to expect and what's expected of them when they arrive at Ohio State. And then the final thing is they're going to get to spend time with the players. That's another thing they don't really get to do right now. Technically, officially, I mean, it can't be set up by the coaches. I guess some of the guys, I know when Rajon Davis came out, some of the early enrollees, I mean, I don't think many of them did, but they were able to, I think, meet him off campus, not arranged by the coaching staff, prior relationships and things like that. But they're going to get this. And that's a big part of the official visits, is spending time with the current players and just understanding how you fit in with the guys currently on the team. If you feel very strongly that you fit in well, and you could see, again, not just the guys in your class, but the guys who are already on the team, and you're hearing from them. I mean, look, I don't think anyone who's there is going to say anything bad, but these guys, they're not just going to pump Ohio State up. They're going to tell these kids what it's really like to be a player at Ohio State, the good and the bad. And I think that's really important for these guys and their families, just to get the full understanding of what to expect. And then the last thing I'll add outside of that, I mean, they used to do Friday Night Lights. They might do another camp that weekend or something like that. They've done a barbecue, I think, 2 years ago when they were allowed to have visits. So there's going to be something like that. And they're gonna make it fun, both for the players and any families that come on. So it's an action-packed weekend, and I think everyone's just coaches, players, they're just prospects. They're just trying to they're so anxious to get on campus that I think everyone's going to be so excited and so jacked up for these, as I said, they might just take advantage of all 4 weekends in June. So I'm really excited. For us, it's kind of crazy. It's the first time we've obviously provided, I think, awesome recruiting coverage on the site day in and day out, but it's the first time myself, Mark, Bill, Mick, and now Dom, kind of our five-headed recruiting staff, is actually going to be able to cover like real visits for the first time and real recruiting, a big weekend for the first time. So I know I'm really excited about that. I think the other guys are too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's something that I think we're all looking forward to. And it's crazy. You think there was just a class that signed, and like there were multiple guys who signed with Ohio State, enrolled early, showed up on campus, and that was the first time they've been like inside the Woody Hayes Athletic Center or had been on campus at Ohio State. I mean, that of all the weird years in college football history, 2020 is definitely going to go down as one of these strangest ones, especially in that recruiting front. And one thing with this potentially now coming to an end in just over 2 months now, my expectation, and you can let me know if I'm crazy here, is I wonder if we're going to see the number of commitments in the next 60 days kind of nosedive for that class of 2022. Now that there's maybe a light at the end of the tunnel, maybe the number of commitments slows down for a month or two. And then as soon as June 1st hits, assuming it does open up, as we've sort of been speculating that it will, you'll then have this crazy flood, this like built up tide of recruits flooding in once, why commit now if you can't visit campus, but you can in 60 days. Does that make sense? Is that sort of how you expect things to play out over the next couple months?
Yeah, 1,000%. If I'm a kid, unless I know for sure where I want to go, and I'm kind of nervous that maybe with visits and things like that, someone could visit and then take my spot or something like that. There's no reason to commit. If I had a son that was big time prospect, I would say, let's wait, let's take as many visits, because you don't know what the world's going to look like in September or whatever. I mean, hopefully it's better. It looks like it's going to be better, but it could be worse. And you might only have a small window to make these visits. If I was there, I would take all 5 official visits in June as fast as I can, and then, try to make a decision and lock in. That's just the way I would coach my son up. And any prospect who came to me and they said, what's your, objective advice? That's what I would give them. So I know a lot of people are think that once this opens up, it's going to stay open, but we just don't know that. No one thought we'd be here on what is it, March 29th. It's still in a pandemic lockdown for the most part. So I think it's going to be fairly quiet for the most part. There's going to be a couple kids who maybe know where they're going for sure and just want to get it over with. But I think a lot of kids these days, they do want to lock in their decision and make it before their senior season starts. They just want to get out of the way, focus on playing their senior year, and do what they got to do to get to their college. But it was a trend before the pandemic that people started to take official visits earlier in the spring and the summer once that was allowed, and making decisions earlier, not waiting till the fall or December to make their official visits and signing in the early period. And I think that's just only going to happen even faster. I think kids are, as I said, going to rush out the floodgates, make their visits, and then you're going to see June, July, August is just going to be crazy, I think, when it comes to commitments. So I'm excited to see what the details are of this, if and when the dead period does end, because I think that will play a big role in this, but I do think that we're going to see as you said, a nosedive, and then we're going to see a huge uptick in commitments this summer.
Yeah, this is theoretically the college football off season, and then I just have this feeling that it is just going to be absolutely bananas between now and probably early signing day at least, because we got now a month of spring football. As I said, Ohio State has 11 more practices, including the one's going to happen a little later on today, going up to the spring game on April 17th. We're anticipating there's probably going to be a very active transfer market both in and out after the end of spring football. Pretty much every program across the country. And then, potentially June 1st, those visits open up. I think you were exactly right that recruiting, the recruiting and commitment business is going to pick up quite a bit, and camps and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden, ta-da, fall camp has started in August, and it's another Ohio State football season. That sounds like a very exciting year to have a front row seat for all of that action. And the best place to do that is at BuckeyeScoop.com, where our team of insiders, Alex mentioned, our five-headed recruiting Voltron monster, whatever you want to call it. Like it is a dynamic, exciting staff at BuckeyeScoop.com. We cover recruiting like no one else does. We have Nevada Buck, who knows all the things all the time. He's just been pumping out nuggets from inside Ohio State's full spring football practice for the last couple weeks. And I'm just going to go ahead and put it out there. He's going to do it again this week. There you go, Nevada. Now you got to do it. Now you got to deliver. Back me up there. He always does. Nevada always delivers. So you can find that all at BuckeyeScoop.com. Would be a great time to become a member. It is the price of a lousy chain store pizza, and instead of indigestion, it will give you the very best Buckeye coverage there is on these here internets. So you can get that at BuckeyeScoop.com. Also, make sure you check out all of our great podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify. Just search Buckeye Scoop to find all of those, including Alex's Around the Oval podcast, which is always fantastic and absolutely worth a subscription. You can subscribe right there. You can leave him, me, whoever. Leave us all a 5-star rating and review. That'll help other folks find those shows. Finally, make sure you check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Buckeye Scoop. We'll have that Ryan Day interview up there a little bit later on today. So if you go there right now, hit the subscribe button, you'll get a notification when we post that. And then you'll be able to watch Ryan Day with the rest of us. So that'll be a lot of fun as well. That'll do it for today. Thank you guys for joining us. Have a great day. We will talk to you tomorrow.